Hello students, you are welcome to class. This is LIS 109, Introduction to African Information Environment. Today's lesson is Lesson 1, Channels of Communication in African Societies. I am your facilitator. My name is Dr. Ajie Ifama Abigail from National Open University of Nigeria. And today is the 22nd day in September, the year 2020. Means of communication these days is through emails, SMS, calls, letters, and so on. The focus of this lesson 1 is on African tribes, African culture, and African traditions. The objectives are in two folds. First, we need to define communication, as in what is communication. The second objective is to identify different channels of communication in African societies. The picture on the screen depicts a typical African man in his village. Communication is the giving, receiving, or exchanging of information or ideas so that the message is completely understood by everybody. Just like how I'm delivering this lecture, I'm ensuring that the people listening to me understand what I am saying. Okonkwo and Ololo defined communication. Other authors also defined communication. If we take a look at this picture on the screen, it explains what communication is all about. Communication is dialogue, discussion, information, listening, two-way process. It involves technology. It involves interpretation, speech, talk, voice, message, shout, network, symbols, internet. It can be verbal or non-verbal. The next item we'll look at is elements of communication. Elements of communication is in 5 folds. We have the sender, message, channel, receiver, and then feedback. The sender is usually the king, the chief, or the leader of the community. He or she sends a message through a town crier most times. And the channel that the town crier uses is called a gong. The receiver of the message are the king's men or the market women or the people in the community. And most of the times, after receiving the message, they give a feedback. Let us take a look at some of the traditional channels of communication in African societies. The first one we're going to look at is called idiophones. Idiophones are self-sounding instruments that do not need any intermediary of any sort. Once you hit them, they sound loud. It is used to draw attention of indigenes before the message will be delivered. It is either shaken, scratched, or pulled with the feet. An example is the gong. We are all familiar with the gong. This is a traditional bell, this is a traditional drum, and a rattle. As soon as you hit them, they make a sound. The second channel of communication in African society is known as membranophones. Membranophones are musical instruments which produces sound from vibrating the membranes. It is especially used in the Yoruba culture in Nigeria. The picture on the screen is a talking drum, and the two musicians are playing the talking drum. A talking drum in Yoruba is usually called dundun. It is used at various traditional ceremonies. It can be used to praise someone as well as for mischief. The talking drum is said to imitate the tones and jibes of the Yoruba speech, and the indigenes understand it. Apart from the Yorubas, in Nigeria, other cultures such as Ishekiri, Urhobo, and Edo-speaking part of Nigeria also have talking drum, and it's called Oji, Igede, and Oka respectively. The talking drum is also used to announce the arrival or departure of dignitaries at the palace. The third channel of communication in African societies is known as aerophones. Aerophones are musical instruments from the flute family, which is also used to transmit information in African societies. The sound is produced as a result of the column of air. Examples of aerophones are whistle, gourd horn, and reed pipe. The fourth channel of communication in African society that we're going to look at is called symbolography. This is a representation of symbolic writing used to convey a message. Usually, symbols connote different meanings in different African societies. For example, when a person or a group of people put leaf in front of their vehicle, it means that they are carrying a corpse. In some other African societies, when a person places a leaf in his mouth, it means danger is lurking, or there is bad news, or something evil has happened in the land. The fifth channel of communication in African society is called signals. A signal in this instance is the physical embodiment of message, which includes fire, smoke, gunshots, cannon shots. Different signals means different things. When some people are in danger and they are able to make a fire, the fire will be seen from afar. The fire will draw attention that there are people who need help at a certain place. Gunshots are also fired to warn people of imminent danger. In some places, gunshots are fired when a rich person dies in a society. In some African societies, when they see a white hawk, it means the flood season is approaching. The white hawk is not a kind of bird that comes out regularly, but when it is seen, it means that flood season is approaching. And the last one here is when the eaglet is roving around. It means a dangerous animal is lurking around, and people are able to receive the communication from the eaglet. The fifth channel of communication in African society is called objectifics. These are items whereby when they are made use of, it conveys specific contextual meanings. For example, in the Igbo land in Nigeria, when a visitor comes into a home, they are offered kola nuts. The kola nut means that the people in that home, they are happy to receive the visitors that have come into their home. Other cultures have different things that they offer to strangers when they come into their home. The next one we are going to look at is called color schemes. I'm sure many of us have an idea what this means. For example, if you see someone with a red piece of cloth or a red piece of cloth hanging over metal, someone who is driving and carrying metal, that piece of cloth depicts danger, which means everybody should stay clear. In some traditional communities in Africa, when they see people wearing black, it depicts mourning. It means someone has died in that traditional setting. And the last one, when they see people wearing white, it means, oh, people are giving praises to God. And it depicts peace. It means, okay, we want to make peace with the other people. The seventh channel of communication in African society is extra mundane communication. This kind of communication is not restricted to African societies alone. Other non-African societies engage in it. It is basically the communication between the living and the dead. Some people want to find out why a particular thing happened, and the only person that can tell them is late. And so they go and consult with people who communicate with the dead. So this type of communication is called extra mundane communication. The eighth channel of communication that we're going to look at is called symbolic display. Symbolic displays are things people do consciously or unconsciously that conveys what they mean, exactly what they mean. They include waving of hand, smiling, sticking out of the tongue, frowning, display of anger, and so on. Without verbally saying anything, this display of action has communicated properly. We are all guilty of such actions. The last channel of communication in African societies is music. I'm sure we know what music is. Music here represents folk songs which can either be to praise specific indigenes for what they have done or to shame indigenes for their wrongdoings. From the slide that is showing, you can see beautiful girls dancing and a man who is drumming away. So, music is a form of communication. When people see where people are celebrating, playing, and dancing to music, that is a form of communication for them that something is going on there. In conclusion, African societies are numerous in number and have cultures that bind each one of them. Their channels of communication brings them closer. It educates them, it enlightens them, and entertains them, as you have seen in the previous slide. These channels of communication are passed down from one generation to another. With the influx of the internet, some African channels of communication have been made known to the world. That notwithstanding, the characteristic and purposes of these channels of communication in African societies remains the same. Thank you very much for listening. We'll meet again for lesson 2. Goodbye.